The growth of the home working business model over the past year has not only created significant opportunity for CX delivery diversification, it's also led to challenges. As more businesses moved rapidly towards this business model, ensuring a pool of talent that is adept in managing interactions from home is more of a priority than ever. It is in this context that work-at-home provider ATAC Incorporated developed its own certification program for home-based agents, with the objective of driving the best possible outcomes for end users. Today on the CX Files, we're delighted to speak to ATAC Incorporated co-founder Tugs Smith about how this certification program works and what it brings to the virtual customer experience dynamic. Tugs Smith from ATAC Incorporated. It's great to have you on the CX Files podcast. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much, Peter. This is amazing. Thank you for taking the time.
No, it's myself, Mark Hillary, and our listening audience wants to thank you for taking the time. And we're here to talk to you today a little bit about home agent certification programs. And the reason that we reached out to you to talk a little bit about this subject is because of the fact that ATAC has developed its own certification for individuals that work remotely. Probably a good point of departure for our chat today would be to find out a little bit about how the ATAC home agent certification program works. And if you could go into a little bit of the detail about how it got started and what are some of the key components that you think really make it stand out.
Awesome. Thank you, Peter. Okay, so in 2018, ATAC was searching for programs or resources that we could use to develop really just our own internal workforce. And then we quickly realized that what we were looking for didn't exist for remote agents. This was before COVID, so working from home was popular, but it was still quite a niche. And this is when we decided to create it. So we worked with a global learning and development company that designs accredited competency-based courses. And we blended ATAC's work from home or remote industry knowledge with their adult learning and development experience. And in 2019, our certification was born. These certification programs are the only accredited ISO competency-based program that in the world designed for remote workers. So there are two programs. We have the Certified Remote Service Agent program, and then the level 2 to that would be the Certified Remote Service Supervisor program. And the two programs are targeted for remote agents, as I said, supporting any industry. So that's the amazing part about it. So supporting any vertical, any industry. And this certification program has been designed to ensure that the successful candidate is trained and has the knowledge and skills to perform their job remotely from home with the most confidence.
Perfect. Okay, well, that's really interesting. One of the questions I have, Tugs, relates to the benefits that a client of an outsourcer can recoup by working with a provider where home agent certifications are in place. You know, one of the things that I think you touched on is the need to have the highest standard possible when an enterprise is contracting with the BPO in order to make certain that the agents are as adept as they possibly can. Because let's be frank, the types of interactions that are being supported are probably more complex than they've ever been, and they're only going to become more complicated moving forward. Can you talk a little bit about what the benefits of using a certified home agent can bring to the CX dynamic?
Great question, Peter, and I agree with your points. Initially, our goal was simple. We needed to fill a need. We wanted to develop a remote-based workforce that understood how to be successful working from home. We also understood that by offering the certification to businesses and clients outside of our own organization, we had a great opportunity to further strengthen the value proposition of the at-home contact center agent. And then COVID-19 hit and it amplified the importance to develop your at-home team. Working from home requires a specific skill set. Not every contact center agent that's brilliant in the contact center could just be dropped into a home office or a spare bedroom with a computer and a keyboard and give you those same great results that they did in the contact center. It takes some work, and this is what the need we plan to fill with this remote certification program.
And what are the enterprises? What are the clients that you've got currently that you're supporting, as well as the prospects telling you about the idea about certified home-based agents? How's the response been so far?
Right now, the response is phenomenal, especially given the current climate. And I keep going back to COVID-19 because it has forced many enterprises, many clients out of their own comfort zone into what we know as second nature, working from home, but they never thought this was possible. This was a area that they never thought their company would be involved in, and they never saw a way to possibly expand their team outside of their bricks and mortar location.
Interesting. So from the standpoint of enterprises that are new to the home-based delivery model, whether they want to work with an outsourcer or whether they want to consider keeping this work in-house, let's assume for a while that they want to work with a BPO. What would be in your opinion, what would be the key elements that an outsourcer that has this home-based certification, what can they take to the client that's going to be probably more of a competitive advantage than if the client was to work with a BPO that did not have any type of a formal certification process in place?
Great question. Again, I think one of the main things that I love and appreciate about this program is this is designed for adult learners. So now that our industry is growing, and now that people are recognizing, maybe for financial reasons or whatever their motivations are, that there is a need to have some sort of certification, programs are popping up. But we want to understand, we want to make sure that we're working with a program that's designed with the needs of adult learners and adult learning styles, has all of the required. All of the programs that we have, contain interactive training material, activities, exercises, assessments along the way to make sure that your learner is not just registered in this program, they're actually retaining the information and they're coming out stronger. So the benefit to an enterprise that's working with an outsourcer, or even if they decide to enroll their internal teams in this program, is that you're confident that your students or your agents, once they successfully complete this program, they have everything that they need to support your business and help you to get to the next level. So even if you look at the monetary gain, you can see where that can definitely impact your bottom line, the small investment.
And that raises an interesting question from the standpoint of the agents themselves, because we all know that the work-at-home agent has certainly been one of the most sought-after labor profiles, not just in the CX world, but in the broader economy. There's definitely a difference that an individual who is more suited, as you were talking earlier about working from home, can bring in terms of the broader customer experience management relationship between the enterprise and the consumer. But Tugs, from that perspective, if I'm an agent or a prospective home-based agent and I want to go through the certification program, what can I expect? What will the experience for me be like? And what some of the key learnings or some of the key takeaways, if I'm successful, that I'll be able to bring to the table?
Awesome. Thank you. Great question, Peter. Well, the course is the great information, as I said before, the great part about the program is it's designed for adult learners, and it starts from the basics of introduction to contact center, because I find where some of us drop the ball in terms of having a contact center is we assume that everyone coming through the door, even if they're coming from another organization where they worked in the contact center, we just assume that everyone understands. And that is definitely not true. And that's sometimes what what helps with the attrition rate being high, helps with the turnover. You have to keep rehiring because folks don't understand exactly what's required of them. They don't understand what success in the contact center looks like or even means. So the first program starts with things like introductory to call center, contact center time management, which is also very, very important. And when I said that we blended our experience with the knowledge of our provider to create the program, we wanted to make sure that we were addressing some key components that stars in the industry have, that stars in the industry understand from an agent level. So contact center information and systems, also things like that. If you don't understand what your tools do, you may not understand how to use them effectively. Dealing with change. And this is something that would help in a situation where you're quickly moved to a new campaign, you're moved to a new program. Anyone that's worked in the contact center world knows that the program that you're working on, the platform that you're using, things can change on a dime. And those are just the introductory items to make sure that all of our learners, all of our students are on the same level playing field. We're not going to assume that you're bringing in your 5 years or your 10 years or your 3 years of contact center experience, so you must already know all of these things. We're going to make sure that you have a strong foundation, and then from there, we're going to build on that.
And is there an expectation that when people take this course, that those who've got perhaps that 3, 5, 10 years experience in a contact center will have a better time with the program than perhaps those who've had more limited exposure to the broader CX environment?
100%. That's the best answer I could give, 100%. And also because their information will be searchable in a database, this is something they can proudly display on their resume to say, not only do I have these years of experience, I've invested some time into myself. The program runs about 12 months, but it's self-paced. So we've had folks complete it in 8 months. Totally your choice, but ideally it should take you about 12 months to go through the program. And they have that certification that they can have on a resume or a CV, as well as the experience. So it just makes them, in essence, the super agent.
And from the standpoint of making sure that the certification program is relevant on an ongoing basis, we understand that the industry is evolving. We understand that certification programs and training has to evolve too. What steps have you taken to make sure that your own home-based agent certification is as dynamic as possible to respond to changes like we've seen over the course of the past 12 months?
Awesome. Well, the main thing is making sure that, as I spoke about earlier, the foundational elements are strong. And then we do tweak and we do make small changes to some of the information that's there to make sure that we're keeping up with industry standards. But there's a very strong foundation. There's a very strong focus, on the foundational elements. And once you have completed the certified remote service agent program, then you're also qualified to move on to the certified remote service supervisor program. And this program is targeted to leaders and managing remote agents, and the certification program is designed to ensure that the participants is trained and understands and has the knowledge and the skills to lead a remote team, because this is not the same as bricks and mortar.
Absolutely. Okay, so Tugs, final question. From the perspective of an enterprise that wants to run its own home-based agents, they don't want to necessarily work with a BPO. And we know that there's a lot of organizations that would prefer to run their own CX operations. Is it possible to engage with an organization like ATAC, with individuals like yourself, to get the enterprise captive home agents certified in that type of perhaps a consultative model, as opposed to moving the capacity over to the third party?
Definitely. This is definitely an option. We have many hybrid solutions to assist enterprise. This includes, as you said, enrolling their own staff and getting their own staff certified, or some may choose to enroll their own staff, and while they're getting certified, they have our home-based agents handling a certain part of their volume. So the thing is that we are business owners ourselves. we have had a work from home or a contact center, a remote contact center for 10 years. So we understand that businesses have unique needs. So for that reason, we've developed many hybrids, and we're always open to different conversations. We're currently having different conversations about different strategies on how to implement this in different organizations based specifically on what they need. So the long short answer is this is definitely an option, and we're open to any model that works best for that client or that organization.
Great stuff. Well, Tugs, thank you very much. It's great to find out a little bit more about the home-based agent certification process and really the value that this brings to the broader CX community. We really appreciate your time today and wish you all the best.
Peter, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me. I know you said thank me for taking the time, but any opportunity to speak to a professional like yourself is amazing and awesome. And thank you for your audience for listening.
Thanks for downloading the CX Files podcast. If you have a moment, please give us a star rating or review on your favourite podcast provider, because this really helps other people to find the podcast. If you have any suggestions for future guests, or ideas, people or topics, then please just find myself, Mark Hillary, or Peter Ryan on LinkedIn and send a suggestion.